Good morning. I'm here in the Oklahoman studios with Clarence Hill. Clarence is the founder and lead of Stronger Together. Stronger Together started as kind of a real small, well, it started with Clarence, small group of one, right. And you've expanded it. So Clarence, tell us a little bit about what's leading up to a very significant day tomorrow in the anniversary of Dr. King's assassination. But we're also rolling out something called United Voice. So Clarence, why don't you give us the synopsis of Stronger Together, and then let's talk a little bit about how we got to United Voice.
I would love to. So Kelly, thanks for having me on. We are just excited about what we're seeing unfold in our city. Stronger Together was born out of a belief that we can do more united than we could do divided. So a group of us were just coming together to address even broken families. And a lot of times when you hear about broken families, you only hear about the negative piece. But we wanted to encourage families, you know, parents loving their children. Right. And so we started in the family area, and we felt like celebration, celebrating what you're for instead of screaming about what you're against, was just a great idea, so that we could get the negativity out of a lot of our conversation. So out of that, we just began to look into different things going on in the city where people cared deeply about different topics. And we would bring those leaders together and some community members together to address those things. Out of that, you know, we formed a partnership with the Oklahoma City County Health Department, and then the race issue came to the forefront. So when that one came to the forefront, again, we heard the harsh words, the choosing sides. You heard of people unfriending people on Facebook. Now, I'm a Gen Xer, so unfriending somebody on Facebook isn't a big deal to me, but in millennial language, that's personal, right?
Right.
And it was based on who you voted for president, and it just seemed like we were going too far away from person-to-person relationships. So we discovered that one of the best ways for us to see a solution around the race conversation was simply to create spaces where people could come together, sit down at the table, and have civil conversation. And it has been extremely fruitful, and now the media is coming together to help push this narrative throughout the city.
Absolutely, and we're happy to be a part of that. And what it will entail is, there's a logo, correct?
Yes.
And we will run the logo when we have stories on race and your all's activities and things like that.
Yes.
So you'll see the logo tomorrow as we roll out information about this movement, as well as the assassination of Dr. King. Okay, 50 years,
yes.
Clarence. 50 years. Are we anywhere close to where we need to be?
Well, we're closer. So,
we are.
You know, some people may get troubled over me being positive, but you know, if you look at the negative side of things, that cup half full or half empty. And from the half full side of it, there are a lot of things going on right here in Oklahoma City that are special. And we've been seeing groups on their own come together and create spaces around the dinner table and have intentional conversations around race. And now the Oklahoman and the news channels are getting together to promote Oklahomans coming together to have a healthy conversation and a healthy dialogue around race. And what that does is it allows us to hear one another's stories.
Right.
So in the current context, when I look at someone, if I'm supposed to judge you based on looking at you, all I'm thinking about is what I've heard, what maybe was passed down to me, or maybe what I'm thinking when I see different things on the news, like someone gets shot or the police officer did this.
It's like generational beliefs,
yeah.
You know, that kind of get passed down along with generational trauma that kind of gets carried forward. But you and I had coffee together
yes.
a few years ago, and then we hosted a dinner here in this studio.
Yes.
And it was a Sunday meal. And we had lasagna from Kathy Cummings. She brought lasagna, and we had a really mixed group of us. And it was great, very intense conversation.
It was.
But I learned things at that meal that I didn't know about people, that I didn't know before. And if you sit down around a table and you can discuss you know, from your heart,
yes,
instead of from a bully pulpit, I think we make progress. And grassroots is what it's all about, isn't it, Clarence?
Absolutely, absolutely. In the Stronger Together movement, our goal is to give people tools where they feel like they can make a difference today. And sometimes people throw their hands up in the air because they feel like, well, the race conversation will never go away. There will always be a divide. And it's like, well, why even bother? Well, we've discovered that you can actually make a difference in this conversation by doing small things. And that's why any family can invite someone over for dinner. Now, some people think, they say, well, we already have friends of a different ethnic group. But it's something to ask, have you ever had them over for dinner? Because there's something special about the dinner table that speaks of hospitality, an opening of the heart, and a welcome. You know, it builds community in a special and a deeper way. Right,
right. I think, you know, we're a very divided nation, and you and I had a conversation about, you know, if you look at things from a national perspective, it's a big circle.
Sure.
But if you, when things get crazy and things kind of, you feeling out of control, what do we all do? We pull our circle in closer to our families and our loved ones. Mm-hmm. What happens when disaster strikes? Where is everybody? Yeah. I need to know where everybody is. Mm-hmm. And I feel like bringing this conversation down to individual dinner tables is like pulling in that circle. Yes. After disaster. Mm-hmm. We had a good talk about that.
Absolutely.
But on United Voice Oklahoma, I've got your newsletter here, and it says, why United Voice Oklahoma? To promote healthy dialogue, a state of greater understanding, compassion and grassroots solutions, celebrate underrepresented Oklahomans who sacrifice to serve Oklahoma and those around them. It's really a call for unity of just person to person, Oklahoman to Oklahoman, mm-hmm. neighbor to neighbor, take a little bit of time.
Yes, yes. There's so many stories that we miss, and there's so many assumptions that we may have to make if we don't know one another. And I'm thinking of how many times that even myself have gone to a race conversation and a dinner, and I've learned something that I never expected to learn.
Right.
I remember speaking with one former senator, and he was sharing a gruesome story about how racism hit his household because his cousin had married a black man and was murdered.
Oh, man.
And if you met this senator and you looked at him from the outside as an older white male, mm-hmm. you wouldn't think that you had an ally or someone who understood where you were coming from if you were talking about the challenges right. That a black person or a person of color may face in America. But here was a person that if I judged him on the outside, I would stiff arm him. I wouldn't even think to want to sit down at the table. But here was something that probably understood the pain of this possibly more than I did myself.
Wow. Mm-hmm. That's pretty powerful stuff.
Yes.
So, well, Clarence, you've done wonderful work. You've done wonderful work. I commend you and your energy and your passion. And you are at a church also in Norman. Tell us the name of your church.
I am Antioch Community Church in Norman. Lead pastor is Chris Bennett, and we are also pushing for seeing unity even in the churches in Norman, Oklahoma. We think something special is going on in Norman, and so we're all working together to love our city.
That's a good town to start something new and special in, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So, well, Clarence, thank you so much for coming by today, and we wish you all the best of luck, and we're here to help you any way we can.
And Kelly, thank you for showing that type of courage to step out in this conversation and help us push it forward.